The Rainbow Warbler by the Monhay family. A long time ago, all of the birds were gray, except for the Cooper's hawks. They lived near the rainbow waterfalls. They bathed in the color pool, and they were the most beautiful birds in the forest. All of the other birds were gray and envious. Many had tried to enter the Cooper's hawk's forest to reach the rainbow waterfall, but none returned, so they had decided that it was better to be gray than to be a Cooper's hawk's lunch. One day, a little gray warbler came up with a plan. He gathered up all the birds in the council, and he presented his great plan. He had a revolutionary idea that they should help each other out instead of just watching out for themselves. The Cooper's hawk was sneaky and merciless, but if they worked together, they could warn each other of its presence. Each bird came up with its own alarm call, and when they sighted a Cooper's hawk, they agreed that they would make their call. And once the Cooper's hawk was out of sight, they would stop alarming, so that it was easy to hear which way the Cooper's hawk was moving. The chickadees seemed to be especially good at sighting Cooper's hawks, so they were sent in first, followed by the juncos, and then the mockingbirds, and so on until all the birds moved into the forest that they had previously feared. As usual, the chickadees saw the Cooper's hawk first, and they started an alarm. The warbler dove for cover in the thicket of the willows. He knew that the Cooper's hawk could not maneuver through the willows this thick, and so the Cooper's hawk was foiled. A group of jays told the Cooper's hawk that the warblers had started this songbird plan to steal some of the colors from the rainbow waterfalls. The Cooper's hawk were really angry, and they wanted to eat those troublesome warblers for lunch. As the Cooper's hawk flew past them, the warbler could hear the junco's alarm and the chickadees going back to their normal chatter. The warbler knew it was time to move on. It continued its path through the Rainbow Falls, through the creek and the willows and the wetlands. The warbler made it through the oaks by listening to his friends' calls. He was amazed how easy it was to move through the forest. He felt very safe and moved at great speeds through the oaks. When he heard alarms, he dove into the thicket and waited until the hawks were gone. The hawks were getting angrier by the moment. They had never had so much trouble finding intruders. This must be a very powerful warbler. The warbler made it up the mountain and through the oak forest. Near the top there was a clearing, and the warbler could see the rainbow waterfalls. It was majestic and so incredibly colorful. As the water hit the pools, a plume of mist created a permanent rainbow in the air. There was only one small toyon tree between him and the colors. He flew to the tallest branch in the toyon tree, and from there he dove as fast as he could towards the falls to drink from the pools. He felt electricity go through his body. He looked at himself in the reflection and saw that he was no longer gray. He was filled with colors, and tears came to his eyes. But suddenly, the forest was very quiet, and the warbler knew something was wrong. His friend stopped singing. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw a flash of white and a flaming orange. He saw the Cooper's hawk's sharp talons and his bloodshot yellow eyes. He was able to dive towards the toyon tree, and the Cooper's hawk crashed, but his talons grabbed the branch instead of his body. He quickly turned and flew towards the oak forest, hoping to make it before the Cooper's hawk could strike again. He thought he had been foolish to think he could get past the ninja of all birds. He didn't think he would make it. The hawk's talons were aimed at him again, and he could not outfly this hawk. To his great surprise, he heard a loud screech, and large birds intersected the path of the Cooper's hawk. 4 Stellar's jay came to his rescue. They cawed at the Cooper's hawk, and it had to change its course. They screamed at him to leave the warbler alone. The Cooper's hawk stared at them with a vicious look. The jays had been the same ones that warned the hawk but afterwards they had felt sad. They too were tired of being gray. They felt terrible for warning the Cooper's Hawk about the warbler's plan, so they decided to help. The warbler made it back to the oak forest, and although the Cooper's Hawk came after him, he could clearly hear where he was because of all his friends' alarm calls. Eventually, he made it back home, where everyone awaited him. Unfortunately, in all the excitement, he drank the last drop of magic rainbow pool water. He had one last idea of how he could reward his friends who kept him safe. He told everyone to come close. He shook his body as hard as he could, and hundreds of tiny droplets flew from his body to each bird, and each bird started turning colors. They were all amazed. A red drop landed on a woodpecker's head. Some blue drops landed on a jay. All of the colors flew off the warbler, and he was gray again. He was sad for a moment, but he was really happy for all his fellow friends. Just as he thought everything was done, a tiny yellow drop landed on him, and he turned yellow. Each bird was so happy that to this day they work together to keep each other safe. Each bird, they let out alarms when the hawks are around, and sometimes even jays put themselves in harm's way to help a songbird in need. The forest is full of colorful birds that sing this story as they feed and as they keep an eye out for the Cooper's Hawk, who to this day is still searching for that mischievous warbler. Dun, dun, dun.